I've got to imagine that you are watching what happened over the weekend with some keen interest. What's your take on this sudden spate of massive volatility in these cryptos?
Well, sure, Brian. Good morning. This volatility has been really vicious. I mean, the meltdown on Wednesday morning and a little bit over the weekend was really testing the lows of Bitcoin in the low 30,000s. There's just been a flood of bad news. I mean, you alluded to some of it, but over the weekend, the third largest exchange, crypto exchange, operating in Asia, was told that it would cut back on its use of leverage products. I mean, some of the leverage in the offshore crypto exchanges is something like 50 times the price movement. Nothing like you can get on the CME or the other futures exchanges we have here in the States. So that was the question that you posed. Would this leveraged money cause a real dislocation in the system? And I would say so far the answer is no. Things have continued to operate. There's been a lot of price volatility, but Bitcoin's down 50% from its highs. I don't really think that's too bad. So it's absorbing a lot of bad news.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the move in cryptos over the weekend and the margin calls that we talked about that we know are coming. I mean, we have reports of hundreds of thousands of crypto accounts being closed forcibly because you owe them. If you bought it on borrowed money, they make the call. You don't have it. You got to raise it somewhere. Do you think the Bitcoin NASDAQ correlation, because if you overlaid the charts, they look pretty similar. Do you think that's a thing? Will that continue, or ultimately, can tech stocks, Jan, can they go their own way?
Wow, you know, the bigger markets have been going through this violent back and forth between value and growth. We felt sort of last summer that growth had really outrun its power and was going to kind of trade flat against the market, and that's really what it's done. And it's really hard to figure out what the Fed is going to do. Is the Fed going to allow some tapering? And that's what, in a way, I think Bitcoin reflects the overall tech market and what the stock market's been dealing with. Our view is kind of, you know, sell in May and go away. And that would kind of be my view on crypto as well, which is the markets just need a rest. I mean, they ran up so much last year. Global growth, the big story we see is that global growth is running super hot, and the car needs to slow down from 200, miles an hour to like 70 miles an hour. And the question is, can the economy, with all the stimulus, just cool down a little bit? You see all the overheating in lumber prices and a lot of the commodity prices. Probably crypto was a little bit of that, but our narrative is to take a step back, and the crypto technologies, I think, will be really disruptive for the payments industry and for Wall Street in the long term. And there's nothing, that we see that disrupts that very high conviction view, which is this space overall is not just Bitcoin, which is sort of like a digital gold, but also some of these other technologies like Ethereum that you mentioned. And their annual revenue has gone up last year from 2 billion to 15 billion. I mean, that's a big growth story.
Yeah. And quickly, Jan, Goldman Sachs had a huge new report over the weekend, came out Friday night, read it with interest, basically launching sort of crypto coverage, if you will. They believe Ethereum will or is likely to be bigger than Bitcoin. What do you think? Quickly.
Very different use cases. I call Ethereum, for the old people, like the MS-DOS. It's the base layer on which a lot of new technology is going to be built. The question is, will Ethereum be the best? Is it the fastest for all uses? It's undergoing a big software change this year, Brian, and we'll have to watch. I think you need to own a basket. Sorry to take the ETF philosophy here, but there's a couple of competitors like Solana, I'll mention one, where you just don't know yet, I think, who the winners are. These are all baby technologies. It's the first inning. So I'm glad they pointed that out. I missed that report, but that's where I think we are in this cycle. I would also just want to make one last comment. It's a maturing asset. Bitcoin in 2021 is not the same as it was in 2017. There are more people using it. There's more applications that use it. So it's very early days. It's going to be volatile. Size it appropriate in your portfolio, but I think it's got a
Yeah.
long ways to go.